Good afternoon, welcome to Griffith TV on Friday, and this is Caitlin.
And that's Anna. Well, we have some great stories up for you today, but first we have Belinda with the news bulletin.
Good evening. Brazil has announced a national 3 days of mourning in memory of the 228 people who died in the Air France plane crash off its coast on Monday. The official mourning period follows Defence Minister Nelson Jobim's announcement yesterday that debris from the plane was spotted 1,000 kilometres off Brazil's northeast coast in the Atlantic Ocean. The plane, which was halfway through its 11-hour flight from Rio de Janeiro to Paris, was full with passengers from 32 nationalities, most of them French or Brazilian. The man known as Spider-Man has pleaded guilty to illegally climbing a 41-storey building in Sydney. Alan Robertson caused a late morning disruption to Sydney businesses and traffic yesterday when he climbed the Royal Bank of Scotland Tower. He pleaded guilty today in Downing Centre Local Court to the charge of risking the safety of another by climbing a building or structure. He was given a $750 fine and has no plans to climb another Sydney building before he leaves the country on Sunday. Back to you, Caitlin.
Thanks very much, Belinda. Well, with the recent success of one of its students on Australian Idol, Griffith University looks the place to be if you want to get a career in the music industry. Harvey Furl investigates.
Brianna Carpenter is destined for big things. After making it to the top 12 for the 2008 season of Australian Idol, she has recently just released her debut album Harlequin. However, many people don't realise that she started out as a popular music student at Griffith University. But what about the other students there yet to be discovered? Music Conservatorium Director Julie Sutherland fills us in on what the university has to offer.
Around the coast, a lot of them are getting gig opportunities. So that's something they sort of have to seek out for themselves as well. That's what happens in the real world. I mean, everything we do here really is mirrored of real world. It's not textbook stuff, it's what you would have to do outside in the real world.
The $1 Million Studios of Griffith University's Music Conservatorium have allowed students to perfect their skills in both recording and performing.
All our lecturers in this course have had such a huge musical background, it's not funny. But yeah, everything that we do, it's us sitting on the keyboards. We have regular gigs at the uni bar, which we can go to, which is optional, and we also have a regular, is it Thursday night gig? Yeah, Thursday night gig at the basement, which is in the Arts Centre at the Gold Coast, which is awesome. So also that's optional as well.
There is a lot of talent to be seen around the university, and we look forward to seeing more success in the future. Back to you in the studio.
Well, there certainly is a lot of talent at Griffith University.
Yes, I look forward to seeing more success of those students. Coming up next, our reporter Thomas have today's sports news.
Thanks, Anna. Queensland have talked the talk. Now New South Wales Baby Blues have 80 minutes to take their first Origin steps and walk the walk in tonight's series opener. Desperate to avoid an unprecedented fourth straight series defeat, a New South Wales team with just 59 Origin caps will face a Queensland side boasting 3 times more experience in the game's toughest arena. The Maroons' front row alone boast more Origin pedigree than their 17 opponents. But history shows that ignorance can be bliss for New South Wales. Before a 50,000 plus sellout in the neutral turf of Melbourne, the underdogs need a history to repeat more than ever with their 7 players on debut. Even their chief playmaker, Peter Wallace, has just 2 Origins under his belt going into the battle. Headed by Justin Hodges, Queensland have talked up their superiority all week, arrogantly claiming their biggest threat is from complacency within. But Blues coach Craig Bellamy has a warning for Hodges, saying the hunter is about to become the hunted. That's all for sport.
Thanks, Tom. Now about study. Have you ever been thinking of doing an architecture degree? If you have, maybe now it's the chance for you now. An architecture degree of Griffith University on Gold Coast will commence in 2010. Our reporter Thomas has more.
After 6 years of planning, an architecture degree at the Griffith University Gold Coast campus is finally coming to fruition. Course convener David Edwards said that they are expecting between 70 and 80 first-year students.
To give you an idea, that's about adding about 25% to the pool of architecture places in Queensland. And seeing architecture is the highest demand program through QTAC for this year. That's not a big change.
There are 3 stages to becoming a fully accredited architect: a 3-year undergraduate degree, a 2-year master course in industry experience. Course planner Richard Blundell believes the Gold Coast is an ideal location to test different architectural ideas because of the layout and culture here.
The Gold Coast is Australia's 6th largest city, so quite a decent population size. We've got an interesting approach to the world around us where, for better or for worse, there's a lot of sort of suburbs that are fairly conventional in some ways, and then you've got kind of the Miami sort of high-rise building thing, and leisure is obviously really important, and we've got a particular kind of economy, and in reality lifestyle, I guess, underpins this stuff, and most people will want something of the kind of things that the Gold Coast has and we just take for granted.
The course will have 2 specialisations. Both will have a strong focus on environmental sustainability and environmental considerations. Mr. Edwards says this will impact the choices architects make when designing their buildings.
The huge change in cost of energy that things like carbon trading is going to introduce, which will change the cost of raw materials. It'll make people start to think about not air conditioning everything, but actually using natural ventilation.
Griffith University Gold Coast campus looks forward to seeing its first budding architects in 2010. Thomas Boswell reporting.
Fantastic story there. It looks like we're going to see a lot of new buildings up around the campus in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and Callie has recently read a good book she's going to share with us.
Thanks guys. Yes Man by Danny Wallace is a true story about a 6-month stint in the author's life. What makes the 6 months interesting is the pact Danny makes with himself and a mate after an encounter with a stranger on a bus. The stranger suggests that Danny needs to say yes more, and Danny, feeling that this was some outer-worldly advice, takes it on board, but to the extreme. He says yes to everything that he has been questioned about. This makes for an entertaining read with plenty of laugh-out-loud, gobsmacking moments. I found this book inspiring and amazing. The idea of experiencing life and embracing both the positives and negatives really struck a chord with me, and I found it made me determined to accomplish more. To feel motivated or to get away from the world for a bit, get your hands on this incredible story. Back to the news desk.
Thanks very much for that, Carly. Now, it sounds very similar to a movie I've seen recently. Have you seen Yes Man?
Yes, I've been to the theatre to watch that one.
Is it very funny?
I like it. It's a great movie.
Well, you should definitely go and read it and hopefully put a little more yes in your life. Now for a story about another film, we have Hope with her review on the movie X-Men Origins.
Thanks, Caitlin. Hugh Jackman hung his cabaret shoes up in order to reprise the role that made him a superstar. Starring once again as the fierce fighting machine, Jackman once again wowed the audience with his charismatic, likeable and eternally watchable presence on screen. A prequel to the events of Singer's X-Men series X-Men Origins, Wolverine tells the story of Logan Wolverine's especially violent and romantic past, his complex relationship with Victor Creed, who goes on to become Sabretooth in X-Men, and the ominous government-run Weapon X program. Along the way, Wolverine encounters a plethora of mutants, both familiar and new. This introduction of a new crew of well-known mutants, within the comic book world anyway, includes Deadpool, played by Ryan Reynolds, John Wraith, played by will.i.am, the Blob, played by Kevin Durand, Gambit, starring Taylor Kish, and Sabretooth, Wolverine's half-brother, played by Liv Schreiber, who gives a textured, menacing and surprisingly layered performance. This film will sure be a hit for any comic book geek and a Hugh Jackman obsessed fan like me. I give it 3.5 out of 5, and back to the news desk.
Thanks very much for that, Hope. I'm also a Hugh Jackman fan. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for listening. I've been Caitlin.
Thank you very much, but stay in tune. We got a documentary program about all that jazz music festival along the Brisbane River later, and we will see you next week.